Welcome to the Eventful Podcast, where real conversations meet big ideas.
This is where the real journey gets shared.
It's honest,
It's inspiring,
and it's always eventful. Okay, so today on the Eventful Podcast presented by Prospect Events, we are so excited to have a special guest, Sophie Ratner. She owns a leading jewelry brand, which is her namesake. They have a studio in New York City, but sell globally, and we count her as our favorite jeweler and also a friend. So welcome, Sophie.
Thanks, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. This is fun. We spent a lot of time in your studio in Soho, but we haven't really met on any calls yet. So this is our first virtual meeting.
Also, you guys promised me dinner and then have me on your podcast now. So I guess that's something, but
we got to take you to dinner. So we'll do that. Meredith and I are both in the city at the same time. But do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are? You're, of course, a founder, have a incredibly successful brand. So we want to hear a little bit about that, which is so cool and we admire so much. And a new mom you are. We'll get into that later and sort of your founder journey. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your brand.
I'm going to start like way back because I feel like it has a lot to do with where I am now. So I was born in New York City. I have a twin sister. And the only reason I'm telling you guys this is because I feel like in a lot of ways she shaped so much of my identity, which I think is very normal for twins. We're not identical, thank God. So like, I don't know if you know identical twins, but I feel like that's a really hard relationship. People are always like, we went to camp with a pair of identical twins and the only way anyone could tell them apart was by one freckle on their face. So we didn't have that experience where like people confused us. But I think being a twin and always being compared to like this one person who like looked like me, was similar to me, it really kind of made us choose really different paths. She was really, really good at school, like straight A student. I always struggled at school. So I got diagnosed with a learning disability probably when I was 10 years old. And I always felt like school was not like the area I could like compete in with my sister. So I became really obsessed with art and painting. So from a really young age, I started painting and I ended up going to RISD for painting, which is one of the leading art schools in the country. And when I got there, I was like, I will never make it as a painter. I just thought that like painting is such a hard career, but it also kind of to me lacks kind of what I love about jewelry, which is that you're making something really special for somebody that they can wear. And like, there's so much meaning to jewelry in a way that staring at a painting, like for me, doesn't do it. So I ended up going into jewelry. And from that like day on, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I started selling jewelry in college and it was kind of like fake, gimmicky, like not real jewelry. Like we did not have like, I don't know, like in college, we were buying like silver and silver was expensive for us. And I would beg my parents, I'd be like, just give me some money to buy some gold. Like that was the thing I just like wanted to get my hands on. And so I started selling jewelry and I feel like right after I graduated, I told my parents, I was like, I want to own a jewelry company. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I never had another job except for this. And I like, don't think I could ever work for somebody else. Like, I just don't have that personality. And my mom was like, okay, you can do this for a year. We'll support you. And like, they were the most supportive. And I've been doing it ever since. So like, it really started from college to like now, and I'm 33. So this has been my only job ever.
Wow. And how long has your brand, Sophie Ratner, been like? How long have you been selling jewelry under that brand?
Probably 8 years, but it started as One Twin Jewelry, which like I feel like says a lot. But just to go into the story a little bit more, after that year of like being out of college and my parents supporting me and being able to make jewelry, I really had no sense of business. Disney does not teach you anything about business. It's like the one huge downside of the education there is like you will learn everything you need to know about jewelry, but like you will not come out understanding anything about business. So I ended up getting connected with this guy named Paul Blum, who was the CEO of David Yurman. And he was advising like small startups at the time. And I met him and we just hit it off. And he was like, listen, I'd love to work with you, but you need a business partner. Like you're the designer. You're not the business person. I ended up finding who you guys met, my old partner. And she was also looking for something to do. We were 24 years old, like just trying to figure it out. And she took on all the business side and I was fully on the design side. And our business was really separated like that. And when I went back to Paul, I was like, okay, I found someone on the business side. Like, will you advise me? And so he took on being an advisor and he's still actually an owner of my business, part owner, also advisor and like just really dear friend at this point.
Wow. So do you run the day-to-day workings of the bit? Because I'm thinking through like you're a creative and that's your skill set and your personality type. Do you do a lot of the day-to-day business practices or does he do that?
So I do everything day to day. And I think the biggest learning for me was like having someone, a partner who did all the business. It gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, I'm not the business person. I don't really need to know this until it kind of blew up where like we made some, I think we both have different sides of the story and we actually never talked about it. Like it really ended in such a weird way, but like things were not working for the business. And we were kind of in this big pivot place where we were like, she wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. The business wasn't like moving forward and we just needed a big change. And so when she left the company, it gave me the opportunity to be like, wait, I can learn all the business stuff. Like just because I've been told that I'm a creative and I like didn't have an education around business doesn't mean that like I'm not capable of doing the day to day and doing all this.
Right.
So once she left, it kind of gave me room to be the business person and to actually explore like what I really want to do with the business. And the business has grown 100% in the last 2 years.
Wow. Congrats. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
is it because of me and Meredith and myself?
I mean, pretty much. I was saying before you got on, I was like, Jess always needs the biggest diamonds.
We were talking about it.
It's me. Yeah. I know.
You're like, can you do this in 5 carats?
That's me. What's the problem is that, well, Meredith and she's like so minimal and like cool and trendy. And I'm like, go big or go home. Like if I'm going to do it, like, so it's funny because people have different tastes. However, I feel like and we'll get into your designs. And I mean, we obviously love them and we're customers of yours, but I feel like you have something for everyone for sure.
Yeah. And I think like the business has pivoted so much in the sense that I'm realizing with like what's happening with fashion where everything feels like nothing feels one of a kind in fashion. There's fast fashion, there's just really high end fashion, but nothing is tailored specifically to you. And I think I often feel when it comes to buying a piece of like a pair of jeans or a dress and I'm spending a lot of money on this, I think it's going to change my life. And like you buy it and then the next day you're like, I'm the same person. Like it doesn't actually change anything for you.
Yeah.
But jewelry is so special in the way that it can actually change your life in some weird way. Like it actually be so meaningful.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know for one, like the stuff that you've designed for me in particular personally, it's funny because I'm with my brother here in Georgia. We're home right now, but he had a question for me yesterday about he's actually starting his own business, which I'm so proud of him for, but he's kind of like looking and thinking ahead, right? And he's seen me on this journey for so long. And he said, you know, what do you buy? Like, what is it that you buy with your money? And I was like, I actually buy like a lot of the things that I've bought are jewelry because I can wear it every day. I look at it, it makes me happy. I know I'm going to have it for life. And it's, an investment in something that you can pass down and have forever. So it's really cool. I feel like your pieces are very timeless, but also, I know sometimes I'll text you and I'll be like, what do you think of this? Do you like this? And you'll be like, you're going to get tired of that. And however long, I think I sent you something. You're like, everybody has that. Like, you're going to get tired of it.
Don't do that. Yeah. No, and I feel like, I think that's the thing. Like, my style is, I would just describe as very classic with like a modern twist.
Yes.
Like, I like things that don't feel trendy or really like too traditional either, but I like it to feel elevated and modern, but like something in 10 years, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember, like, I still love it. It's a good choice, and it's not just like going along with what everybody else has or the trends.
Yeah.
I have a question, if that's
sure.
okay. Your brother, what sort of business is he starting?
Oh, he's going to love that I'm talking about this. So my brother just launched a business this past week. It is such an interesting and cool concept, actually, for kids, which I know you have a baby. He's not as new anymore, but you have a young child. But it's called StoryCat. The website is story.cat. And it is a website where you can put in sort of like vague descriptive factors about your child. So age, color of hair, and what they're interested in. And it generates a complete story and illustrations about whatever it is that you want to make a story about or your child wants to make a story about. So it has different reading levels. It's enhanced for, different learning disabilities or like reading, difficulty, if that's something that's needed. But essentially, it makes bedtime stories easier. So you can create them about your dogs or, whatever adventure that your child wants to see themselves in or their friends or their family in. It completely generates the entire thing from start to finish.
So it's cool.
Very cool.
That's
really very, very cool.
I'm not at that stage with.
No, not yet. But maybe I'll send you a code when you are.
Yeah. We're at the stage where he just like screams himself to bed. It's like pretty intense.
Like I want to get into your journey of being a founder through motherhood as well.
Okay, so I have a question. We obviously work in marketing. We do marketing events, but your business heavily relies on marketing. So I'm just really interested in your marketing strategy and anything that you can talk about, because the way that I discovered you was through a partnership that you had done with Goop, which I'm sure is part of some sort of a marketing strategy you had. So if you can expand on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was first the marketing has changed a lot. I definitely was not involved in the marketing when I had a business partner. So now taking on the marketing, I think we've just tried to think about it as multi-tier marketing. So we do use an agency. So a lot of the marketing is outsourced, but we manage all of it in-house. So what that means for us is coming up with like basic things that kind of, I think a lot of companies overlook. But having a really strong marketing calendar and understanding when you need new product launch, how you're going to photograph the product, having some enticing offers that are not sales. Like with jewelry, you don't necessarily want things to be on sale because you don't really have the margins to put things on sale, but also you don't want to cheapen the product. We've started working on with influencers. That's kind of like our next tier of marketing as well. And paid ads. I mean, it's a whole, like, tell me if there's anything specific that you want me to go into because it's multi-tiered. I think it evolves every single year. I think something that's been really important to my business is as a 2-person team, and I don't know if you guys have run into this, but trying to track all of the marketing and trying to make sense of what's working and what channels you should spend more money on is really complicated in a small business. So for us, the last 2 years have been trying to track every single thing in our business to understand like how can we expand on the custom side of our business? How is it different than just the jewelry we sell on our website? How do we photograph it in a way that stands out from everybody else? And I think most importantly is not looking at other jewelry companies for inspiration. Like there's so many direct to consumer jewelry companies. I think what makes our company really special, at least from the perspective of the custom side of the business, is that people are working directly with me. I'm not handing their projects off to somebody else. I'm your personal jeweler. So you'll come, you'll meet with me, and I will treat you like a friend. I will text you. I will become your friend. It's a really specific way we work with people, and it just slowly builds these relationships, and word of mouth is kind of a huge tool for the custom side as well.
Well, I just think that's so interesting. And Jess, you can chime in, but even though we have different businesses, so much of the way we do marketing is that in terms of the referrals, word of mouth, we very much, I would say we also don't really compare ourselves much to other production companies just because we have a very unique way of doing it. And similar to you, we do a lot of hand holding. We work very much one-on-one, even though we have other team members now that are helping produce the events. Just to go on your, like working with you, I've worked with you a few times on custom stuff and I love the personal touch. Like I do admire other jewelry brands and stuff, but you just don't receive that. So I think that's such an interesting way that you do your business. And I think it's probably helped you a lot because it's pretty unique, at least from what I've seen in the market.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's a hard thing to scale because you only have, it's based on one person. So I think it's also just trying to figure out how to scale this really personal custom side of the business, and also what we consider our like direct to consumer main line that you just buy on our website. And like the two things need to work really well together in order for the business to grow. We will get to a point where I have no more capacity to actually take on custom projects because my whole day is meeting with people doing custom projects. And that's a lot of my week. But I think people, at least from talking to clients, are really fed up with things being fed to them as if they're really personal and custom experiences. Like there's bigger jewelry companies that try to make people feel like it's a really personal and custom experience, but then they're just handed off to like an associate, or they're like, you can only customize this, or you can, like it's really hard to operate in this way if you're a big business. It's not possible. So I think like scaling is a really interesting question when you're talking about this really personal one-on-one experience, like with me, and like how you do that successfully.
Yeah. I mean, to Meredith's point, there are similarities. We have the same thing. Like we try and we do touch, even though we're B2B and you're B2C, you're selling a good, we're selling a service or providing a service. We touch every single project, and you'll find us, whether it's a small project or a huge project, Meredith and I will be on almost every call. And scaling is, that's always something that comes up because it's like, when are we going to pass things along to our team or, hire people to sort of not take our place, but be able to delegate and spread out the workload, because we're kind of the brain, and that's how we've built our business and what people are hiring us for. And you're sort of the same in that. And I want to get a little bit into, I'm thinking about just two brands off the top of my head, which I won't name, but that come to mind when I'll name them. So what I was going to say is your jewelry stands out to me from these brands. So when I think of you, the two top jewelers that I know in New York are, or just in sort of like our demographic and probably the same demographic that you're selling to, are Stephanie Gottlieb and Ring Concierge as well. So I have jewelry from both of those brands, but I've actually taken jewelry from those brands and had you customize them for me, because I just feel like I bought these pieces maybe when I was like trying to be cool and trying to have something that was, in on trend or in fashion at that time. And then everybody has the same thing, right? And I know when I text you and when you and I are like designing custom stuff together, I'm so adamant about not having the same thing as everyone else. And I know they also do like custom pieces. And I know that like engagement rings and things like that are a totally probably separate thing than like go to market type of jewelry. When I look at your site or when we walk into your showroom where you always have new stuff and it's like so fun. I think Meredith and I are like kids in a candy store every time we go into your showroom, but I feel like you're not trying to be trendy. Your style for jewelry is classic with a twist, like you said about yourself. And I feel that really rings true with your designs. So how do you kind of stand out or, try to do something a little bit different and a little bit off the beaten path do you feel like you're competing with those brands? Like, do you even put yourself in the same kind of bucket as those brands? Or do you feel like, I feel like everything that you have is very different, but do you still feel like you have to compete?
I think Ring Concierge is like they're $100 million business that have taken so much money, I'm sure. I don't know like the ins and outs of it, but like, and I'm sure that most of their pieces are not made locally. Like they have such a different way of producing. And I think their pieces are for a really specific person who really like, this is not going to sound nice, but like wants what everybody else has, And like, I'm not that type of person. I don't want what everybody else has, but I want something that's not so far from what everybody else has. And I think that's how I think about designing is like, I don't want to create really out there jewelry because that's not my personal style.
Yeah.
But I also don't want like, we're constantly talking about this with product. We're like, oh, we should add new tennis necklaces. I can't compete with their pricing. So like, I don't even want to add new tennis necklaces. If I add something new, it's because I feel like we can do it better or like have something more interesting to say in this like style of jewelry. I just want it to feel like not what, like, I think they're good examples of how I tried to pivot the business and come up with this really personal custom side of the business that is really specific to like for you. Yeah. So like I work with a lot of clients who come in and bring their like family heirlooms. And these are pieces that don't necessarily have that much like monetary value, but to them it's so stressful to even think about like their mom died and they're making a piece of jewelry out of that person's engagement ring. And they need to feel like they can really trust somebody to like bring the vision to life, not lose the jewelry, not break a stone, basic things. And I have the background to be able to like make sure we don't mess anything up. But I also feel like I can really connect with those people. Yeah. And a Ring Concierge or like a Stephanie Gottlieb, it's such a different business model that to me, I'm not really competing with those types of businesses. I could definitely name other businesses that I feel are probably more competitors. But I think those are businesses that people are really familiar with. And that might be their first like touch point to find jewelry. And then they realize there's like a whole nother world to find jewelry that's a lot more creative or interesting.
I would say that I'm the perfect like consumer example of that. Is like I said, when I was younger, you want something that you see on social media and then you start seeing ads and everybody has it and all the influencers have it. And I mean, it works. Like that marketing style works, right? Because it makes somebody who finally has a little bit of funds to be able to make a big purchase like that, that's like their goal and that's what they want. And I also see your business from a consumer perspective the same way. It's like once, like I was saying earlier, when you start wanting to get something a little more custom or when somebody compliments something that you have, you want them to say, wow, I've never seen anything like that. Where did you get that? And it's like, that's because I created it and I worked hand in hand with the jeweler to design it. So it just feels a lot more special and like personal that way, I think.
Yeah. And I also think like I can't compete with those places in terms of pricing. I think Stephanie Gottlieb is a kind of a different business than Ring Concierge. But like, yeah, I feel like I want to be as different from that in a lot of ways because I want people to come in and feel like I get them. Like I understand their vision and they're like safe in some ways because I think it's really intimidating to go to a store, talk about money, talk about a budget, try to express what you want. Like there's plenty of people who don't have a vision and I have to direct them on the vision. So I mean, this part of the business has given me so much life because I feel like when we didn't have this like custom part of the business, I can bang out our direct to consumer designs really easily and I love doing it, but this has brought a whole new level of being connected to people. Like it actually feeds my soul. You know what I mean? Like I feel like something I also realized, just if we're going to talk about being a mom, is I learned really quickly I was never going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like that was not going to like actually feed my soul, right? I was working as soon as I gave birth on my phone, texting with clients, making sure like their jobs were continuing. And that was like giving me life that like a baby kind of like drains from you. It's not that I didn't love him and I don't love him and I don't love being a mom, but it's like not my identity, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like my business partner once said to me, like, we've been dealing with a lot of stuff with the tariffs. And he was like, how are you doing? And I was really stressed out that day about the tariffs. And I was like, honestly, the tariffs are like, I'm really stressed out, not well, because as soon as things feel rocky with business for me, it's really hard to separate it from everything else in my life. And he's like, okay, but you have a healthy baby. You're a mom. Like you have all these other things. Like don't let that, like you have to have some separation. And in the moment I found that like so irritating because the business provides so much like joy and just like essential things I need to just survive as a human and be happy. And it's really hard to separate it from everything else. And having a baby to me is not like, it brings a lot of joy, but it's a different type of joy. And I feel like you can't confuse that, like, okay, if your business collapses, you still have a family, you have a baby, you have this, you have that. Like, that's not how I think about things.
Yeah, I get that. I'm the same. Meredith can tell you I'm the same way.
Well, I think it's just interesting because I'm not a mom, but we recently, it came up in 2 previously recorded podcasts. These are 2 amazing women, similar to yourself, that are huge career women, and they both have 2 children, and they said very similarly that they love their kids, but they enjoy their work so much that they're not fulfilled. Like that's so fulfilling to them. And actually, Joan, one of the women that we're discussing, she's like, it was extremely hard for her to retire. And she talks about it in it because she truly just loved her work so much.
Yeah.
So I think like I don't have kids, but I think if I did, I would be very similar to you because there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom because I think that's also great. But like for me, I just love to work.
Like seriously, like those moms, I have so much respect for because there is nothing harder than being home with him for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
When I come to work, I'm like, oh, vacation. Like, like it's just so hard.
Yeah.
But hard, really hard.
But I mean, and I'm not a mom either, but I mean, my older sisters are, but I think it feeds different parts of yourself, right? Like not one thing can fulfill all the areas. So it's like you still, just because you're a mom doesn't mean that you don't need other different dynamic parts of your life and fulfillment, right? Something can't fulfill every single area is what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, you're brave for saying that. And I think I would be the same way. I think it would be hard for me to like the same way you wouldn't want to be at work all the time and not see your baby, like your work is your other baby, right? So you need both. Like you have to tend to both and make sure both are flourishing.
Although he's extremely cute and I'm obsessed with the ad that you did with him.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't easy to get him to cooperate.
Oh my God. That was like, I was so done with that because we got there and I hate seeing him unhappy, which I probably have to get over as a mom. But he was not happy. And I was just like, guys, can we just like wrap this up? Like, we don't need that much footage. And my employee, Olivia, is like, Sophie, just like breathe. Like, we do need shots of you guys together. Like,
well, he looked happy in whatever cuts you did. So I don't know.
Yeah, he was like crying in between every shot. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I think the other thing that's been really interesting about being a mom, which I could have probably told you because my mom is like this. And I don't want to be really like, I think this is not true for everybody. This is definitely true for me, where my mom was always the person like running our household. She always had our lunch packed. She knew what was happening after school. Like, my dad is a great, amazing dad. I love him so much, but he wasn't that person. Like, he washed the dishes. Like, that was his responsibility. He definitely took us to school and did a lot, but he had no, like, so much of your mind as a mom, because I don't want to say most men, but from my experience, most men don't seem to have the same ability to like keep a household running. At least this is like, people will definitely find this offensive, but this is my personal experience, that so much of my mind is taken up by those logistics that I'm like, how much more can I give at work if I didn't have to also now make lunch for him every single day, make sure he's eating properly, manage the appointments, manage this and this. Mm-hmm. And my husband's amazing and he's great with our baby, but like, so much of this falls on moms, and it really does. Like, it's just a different brain.
I think most of my friends who are mothers have said verbatim that. They're like, we're just wired different. There's nothing, their husbands are wonderful, but
yeah,
like we're wired a certain way.
Yeah. And like, my sister calls it learned helplessness. Like, she says it to my husband all the time because I treat him like, I'm like, if I have to tell him what to do, I'm like this, A, B, C, like a child. And he does it and he's good at it, but it like has to be fully explained.
I mean, the way their brain works, to your point, is just different. Like, it's just different. So I think that's why they say mothers know best. That's why it's been an age-old saying.
So. Yeah, it's really been interesting to like study this in my home because he also is killing it at work, and he's the smartest person I know, and watching him deal at work is amazing because I'm like, if I could just have 10% of how you deal with people and how forward you are and how you know what to do. Mm-hmm. But like, it's wild to watch it in the home too. You're like, oh, this doesn't actually translate into the home. You know,
I mean,
I was like,
yeah, it just plays into that whole conversation, which is not, I don't think it's offensive one way or the other. It just kind of is what it is, that women have to do it all. Like, they have to do everything. It's like, you can run a business, but you also have to take the lion's share of what's happening with your children and home life as well. I always tell Meredith, like, I would love to have a dog, but I can barely even feed myself with everything that we do and traveling and a day's work and all of that. It's like, I don't even know how I would take that on. Like, I don't even have bandwidth to do that. So having a child, I can't even imagine how much more.
And I want a third dog, so.
I have 2 dogs and they basically live with my dog sitter. Yes, but they're wonderful. I love them.
They're the best. I have a question for you guys because
sure.
I feel like how many people work below you? And I guess like, I don't like to manage people. It's like one of the things I really don't like doing. I don't know. It just isn't my personality, but it's something I'm probably going to have to get better at as we grow. And I'm curious how you guys do you like managing people? Does it come naturally to you? How many people do you have to manage?
So we have a total team right now of 5 and more coming soon, hopefully. I would say, just to start from the beginning of all of it, the hiring process is really hard. So I think that has been really challenging for us. But luckily we have an amazing team, and we had to learn early on to be super selective about who we hire. And we also learned through the hiring process, we were able to hone in on and learn ways to hone in on what we want and making sure that the person that we're hiring has those qualities, or seeing if they do not. Sometimes it's really hard to discern, right? But probably also for your business, like, what we need is such a nuanced skill set, and it also plays really closely into personality type. So I think for us, it's kind of like, if we hit the jackpot with the right person hiring wise and like skill set wise, and making sure they're a fit for our team, because we're under like really tight deadlines, like highly stressful environments and being on site and having to put a game face on and talk to clients and vendors and, things going wrong and all of that. So like during the interview process, it's really hard to see if somebody is good at that or not. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll do a contract to hire, and we'll do sort of a temporary process and bring people on site. And of course, beyond our team, we have so many contractors in, different cities, and we outsource where we need to, which is a typical structure for our kind of industry. Meredith will have more to say on this, but I think managing, to me, I think, Meredith, I toot our own horn, like we're good at it. I don't know what what our employees would say, but my mentality personally is like, if you hire right, then the management part is easy. We're pretty chill and like not micromanaging and hands off, and we give guidance and feedback where needed. But otherwise, as long as you're performing your job and you're doing what we hired you to do, then we're all good. Mary, I don't know if you have more to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, managing people, I can see what you're saying, Sophie, about like I never woke up and said I want to be a manager. I know so many people because I came from internally. I worked at several different companies before working internally, and a lot of people felt that the next move in their career is to manage people, where actually being an individual contributor, there's just a different career path. It doesn't necessarily mean you're more senior to be able to manage people. I think that I've learned a lot about myself having to manage people, and also grown as a person because, for example, like I'm not the most confrontational human being you've ever met. So I've had to learn to have tough conversations with people. I still am working a lot on that. But to Jess's point, to go back, I think if you hire right, it's not so difficult. I think for the way we run our business is if you have to micromanage, then that's a you problem also, but also like that person might not be the right fit if you have to do that. So we trust our team to do what their duties for the, specific project. And then we're always there to, for support. I think something that we pride ourselves on at Prospect Events also is humility, and we don't shame people if something gets messed up. I mean, there's so many things, I'm sure similar in jewelry production. There's so many factors that can, cause a delay or something, but we all can make mistakes, myself very much included. I make mistakes all the time, but, not publicly shaming anyone about that is super important because I've had some bad management in my life as well. And so I've learned from those. I've had great managers, but I've had bad managers too. And I realized that's not how I would want to manage anyone. So I don't know. It's a complicated question, but yeah. I didn't wake up wanting to be a manager, I'll tell you that, but it's just somewhere that I've had to go into.
Yeah. And I think that's I think part of probably your industry and my industry is managing customers.
Yes.
And that in some ways is a lot more challenging because you're managing people's expectations and you're managing, I find that very challenging. And I think trying to understand other people's perspectives sometimes is very tricky. But I think, you guys are in a little bit of a different situation, I think, where the events are probably really high stakes for companies working with you. And so if things are not going the way they want it to go, there can probably be some pretty big tension.
Yeah. It's a very special thing that we do. it's
not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, and to your point, Sophie, it's interesting because we've done weddings in the past, but people ask us all the time if we do weddings, and we really don't. A lot of people say, "Why don't you do weddings? It'd be so fun," and all of that. First of all, I don't like working on the weekends. Even sometimes we have to travel on the weekends or things like that for events. But if you were doing weddings, you're doing like multiple every weekend, and it's just not for us. However, I mean, for the right project, we'll take on weddings. But for me, those events are so emotionally charged, and kind of like what you're saying about family heirlooms and things that mean so much to people. It's almost like, even though the stakes are very high in what we do and things definitely can get emotional, you're not taking on sort of that pressure of like, this is so personal to these people, right? And I really admire wedding planners because I don't think it's just too emotionally charged. I don't think I enjoy it that much. That's a lot of pressure to be able to, and I know you've done some jewelry for Meredith too, where you're taking something that is so meaningful and like so special, and it's on you to produce something that somebody's going to be really happy with and keep forever. I would love to hear about some, like, talking about client management and like experiences. Like, do you want to tell us like some of the craziest things that you've seen with clients?
I would say there was this one client I had who, this was probably one of my first custom jobs. And I was like, I have no idea why she's picking me. Because at that point, we never even advertised custom.
Yeah.
So she must have just liked my jewelry and was like, oh, can you do something custom? What she wanted me to do was so far out of like anything I'd ever made on my website. Now I do all sorts of custom. So if someone comes to me and wants something that's not in my realm, I can still do it, but it might not be like my personal favorite, which doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But so this woman was finding me at a time where like I hadn't even started the custom side of the business. And she wanted something really, really specific and kind of old fashioned. And the way I designed the process, even back then, was that you'd have a CAD drawing. So in this situation, she was sending back her engagement ring. The stone was worth like $100,000. So that was really stressful as my first project like this. We take the stone out, we scan it into our computer, we make a CAD drawing, which you guys are familiar with, but for people who aren't familiar, it's kind of like a computer rendered drawing of a piece of jewelry where you can see all the angles, you can have all the dimensions. So you have a really good understanding of what something looks like, but it's hugely magnified. So most clients, when I send them the CAD, they're like, oh my God, my piece of jewelry is massive. And I kind of have to be like, okay, remember this is the scale of a piece of jewelry. Which to me is like, I do this every day, so I know how to talk to people about this now. But she saw the CAD drawing, she loved it. And then we printed the wax model, which is the next step, which is an actual physical wax model that I'll like FaceTime or even ship to a client. She signed off on everything. We made the ring, and then she got the ring, loved it for like a day, and then decided she hated it. So in my situation, there's so many levels of trying to deal with this. Like emotionally, it's like painful for me because I'm like, I thought I did exactly what you wanted and you loved it for a day. Like what could have gone wrong in those 20
You probably did, not to interrupt, but
it was like it was ugly, but like she wanted that. So whatever, like at the end of the day, I can't be like, it's my favorite piece of jewelry, but it doesn't matter. She had paid for everything because we make people pay obviously before we ship it. And so she was like, I don't want this piece of jewelry anymore. And I was like, I'm sorry, you paid for it. If you want to remake it again, I'm happy to explore new options and give you good pricing, but like I can't, like I run a business. She took the stone out, sent back the setting, and then took all the stones out, sent back the setting, and did a chargeback, which this has happened a few times actually, not with custom, but with other things. And this, like, to me is the most, like, you never win a chargeback from the customer side. It's when someone calls their credit card company and says, hey, I didn't actually purchase this. It's fraud, which is like so fucked up and you can't dispute it. And you just have to take the loss. And it like, this was 5 years ago and it still makes me like so angry.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's crazy, first of all.
But don't you have like records of her signing off on stuff?
No, this is the craziest thing. I have video of her actually coming in to see she came to see the wax, now that I remember. I have texts of her signing off on everything. It doesn't matter. Like the credit card company always will side with their customer. Right. And you will always lose that money.
Because they want to keep the customer.
Yeah.
That's so insane. I would say we're also like a client management and services based business. So we've obviously seen so much just in talking about when you're telling that story. I think our immediate reaction is like, who would do that? But when you're working with so many different kinds of customers or types of customers, you're working with so many different personalities. And, some of our clients we've been working with for many, many years. And like they were with us from the start of our business and we've become such close friends with them. Some of them, it's more just strictly professional relationship. And then some of them, it's like, we've had some clients in the past, not naming names, where it's just like, I don't know what do you want, but I think it's just like, that's who you are. Being in a client services based business is a constant roller coaster and also just a constant trying to hone in on what they want. And sometimes they don't actually even know what they want. And sometimes I can remember a specific example for an event that we did and everything was signed off on. We had renderings of the stage. We were ready to go and we got to the actual venue and put the stage together. And the client was like, what is this? And we're like,
you signed off on it.
It looks exactly like
it's showtime tomorrow.
We're so ready to go.
Oh, and for us, it's such a time crunch because we're like, okay, we can bring in all this stuff and we can do this and this and this. And we're going to have to expand your budget to bring this in and make it look however you're saying that you want it. But it's hard. It's hard managing expectations and dealing with people for sure.
But also remembering, I can think of so many crazy, now that I just think of one, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of people like this. I think it's also being able to be like, there's something going on in this person's life, or they're not a happy they cannot be a happy person if this is the way they deal with people. And I think oftentimes when things like this happen, when I was just starting, I would do anything to please them. I would be like, okay, we can do this. Don't worry, I'll lose money, whatever. But I've gotten to a place where I'm like, I've actually dismissed a client. I've fired a client before.
Yeah.
And I lost probably a few $1,000s because I sent her I was like, you know what? You are so not worth my time. You are not worth my mental energy.
Yeah.
The money doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah.
It's actually draining my everything.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
We've had that a few times.
It's not worth it. But yeah, we've had to do that as well, unfortunately. And sometimes, I think that ties into just protecting your, putting up boundaries, protecting your mental health. So much goes into that. So Sophie, I know we're wrapping up soon, but with every guest that comes on the Eventful podcast, we ask them what their top eventful moment in their career journey or their founder journey, what comes to mind first is your most eventful moment in running your business or juggling business, personal life, whatever it is. What is something that stands out to you that was special or difficult or, eventful that you want to share?
Oof, that's such a hard question. I feel like when I just got back from having Asher, my baby, I was still trying to breastfeed, which was not a healthy choice for me because it was not working. And I was dealing with a lot of issues with it. There's so much pressure around breastfeeding, self-pressure, not even other people. And I was on a shoot and I was pumping on this shoot. And I was like, I am doing it all. I'm feeding my child. I'm working. I think I was just really proud to come back after, most people are very sad that they don't get a long maternity. And I was 2.5 weeks, I was like, I am ready to get the fuck out of here. So I don't know, just I think just the grind of having something for 8 years and thinking, there were so many points I could have given up on. There were so many times the business wasn't succeeding. And I'm sure I'll have that in the future, but it's to not give up on something that you care so much about. It's a marathon. This is such a marathon. I want to do this for 50 years,
I would just like to say that you are doing it all. Meredith and I admire you so much, and we talk about you all the time, and we wear your pieces all the time, right now. I never take them off.
My custom ring. I love it.
But, you've built something really special, and everything that you do is so beautiful. So you should be really proud of what you built. And I can't wait to see where your brand grows, where you grow as a founder and as a mom. And yeah.
Wait, sorry. I have a question.
What?
Who would you consider your direct competitors?
Yeah.
I think is one of them.
I've heard of that, but I haven't bought
an LA company. I just think there's a lot of smaller companies that are tailoring to custom. but they haven't quite figured out what we call our main line. I feel like we're really good at continuously launching things and putting things out there and designing and then having this custom part. They're probably better at showcasing their custom than we are. But I think the two things are like for us are really important, but they're really top of mind for me. But
I love that you have a hard time of even like thinking of who your competitors are because you're so focused on your own business and staying in your lane. And I feel like that's kind of how we are as well. We're just like, we see other people doing stuff and we're like, this is cool, but whatever. We have our own stuff to do. Like we're too busy to focus on others. So I kind of love that you have trouble even thinking of any.
I probably should know more off the top of my head.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for listening to the Eventful Podcast. If you loved this episode, follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and catch us on Instagram at the handle @theeventfulpod. See you next week.